You are now listening to the I Think I Love My Wife podcast. And this is your best friend's best friend, Chidozie Okafor, ready to take you on another journey. Are you with me? Because I'm ready. Let's get it. In this episode, we examine the hard learnings that come with divorce. We discuss the thrill and struggles of dating today. We assess your ability to change someone's mind. And we talk about the value of dating reciprocity. Hey, what's going on, folks? Today I'm here with a good friend of mine, Justin. I've known this guy since business school.
Yep.
And so I'm happy that he could be here with us today and share his story. Like every person that I speak with, I love to start it with the toast. And so today's toast is going to be to love, growth, and new beginnings. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
So let's dive into it. Let's let the people know a little bit of context about you and your relationship. How long have you been with your wife? Or how long have you known her? Sorry.
How long have I known her? I've known her for just under 3 years.
Just under 3 years. How long did you date before you proposed?
Before I proposed, 6 months.
So you was quick. It was like...
Yeah. Sometimes you find a good thing, man.
Hey, I hear you. I think a lot of us out here looking for good things and want to know it. So I get it.
I had to go through a lot to figure out
and
what a good thing is, though.
And so how long have you guys been married?
2.5 years-ish.
But you've known her for 3 years. What was your engagement period?
Dude, I can't do math in my head. So...
like, I almost went to the courthouse?
I know. It was only a 4-month engagement, though.
Okay, so it's quick.
Legit,
so
we've been married 2 years and
years.
3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you do for a living?
I work in finance for a large telecom company.
And go ahead.
Oh, no, that's good.
And what does your wife do?
She works in HR.
Okay, cool. And so one of the questions I like to give context to, because I think that how you were raised impacts how you see relationships and things like that, is the marital status of your parents. And so growing up, what was that like? Your parents together, not together?
Not together. Okay. So I didn't really know my father at all. And so I didn't really get to see that married dynamic in my own household growing up. So that has definitely impacted my story going forward.
Okay.
So I'm sure we'll talk about more of that later.
We'll talk about that. And so I guess, how old were you, just for more context, when I guess he was out of the picture? Was it super early?
From birth.
Oh, something from birth. So you never had that?
Never.
No kind of engagement?
None.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And your wife?
Her parents are married and they've been together her whole life.
So she's seen that from jump?
Yeah, she's seen beautiful love all her years. Yep. And
do you have any children?
I have one on the way. So my beautiful wife, is 9 months pregnant right now, so she'll pop anytime.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so I love to start this off with, just understanding, why you're married and why her. And so, what do you love about your wife?
My wife has the ability to make me communicate in a better way, and she makes me better. And that's one of the things that I love about her. And you're probably looking at me like, what does better mean for me?
Yeah, that was my follow-up question. What does that mean?
Better means that I not only want to be a better person tomorrow, but I'm willing to sacrifice today to be a little bit better for her and for me, and now for our child going forward.
I was going to ask you, the idea of you being better, was that something that you upfront knew you needed to be, or has it come with resistance? What is that? Was it a immediate recognition of, I need to be better and I see this person's helping me be better? How's that? What's that dynamic look like, or has looked like?
It wasn't something I even knew I needed, but it occurred literally on our first date, right? So our first date was a 5-hour marathon date, and we sat down, and her first question to me was, "Are you married? Do you have any kids?"
She just got straight to the point.
Straight to the point.
Tell me, how old were you when this happened?
I was 32, 33, somewhere in there.
And how old was she?
30.
So she was ready, like done with the game. She was just like,
yeah,
okay. So keep going. She said, married, kids.
Right. And I'm like, no kids, not married, but I do have an ex-wife.
Oh.
To which there was a pause. And she said, tell me more about that. And that began the whole piece of her making me communicate in a better way. But along with that, in that first date, she also let me know that, hey, I'm out here looking to get married. I'm not out here for fun. And that made me tighten up because I was out here for fun. And I'm like, okay. And by the end of the date, I realized that if I wanted to continue to date her, I needed to be a little bit better than I was at that point in time.
Okay.
And so that started from date one.
So she had her boundaries, like, hey, this is what I'm not going to deal with, and this is what I am willing to deal with, and you're either going to get off board, or it was like great to know you.
Right.
From jump.
Did
you guys know each other prior to the first date?
No.
So how'd you guys meet?
Very interesting. So there's a little club around here, and my wife is not a clubber at all. I can probably count the number of times she's been out to a club since. But she was out celebrating someone's birthday, and I was out with one of our friends.
Yeah.
And we were just out walking around. He knows a lot of people. He had just met her a few weeks ago. He introduced me and kept walking, and I stayed.
So he sent you with an alley-oop?
Basically. But I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
I was just talking. It was good, smooth, easy conversation. That was like a Friday night to Saturday morning. You know what I mean? Like it's club hour, so I don't know at what point in time it was. I can't tell you if it was 11:50 or 12:10. Don't matter. We talked for a while, for like an hour.
Just to give context, because I'm trying to visualize this. Mm-hmm. You out at the club. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, it's gonna be. Hopefully, it's a good night. I'll meet some people, get some numbers, see what may happen.
Exactly.
You get your wingman hooks you up with a good setup,
mm-hmm.
And she's celebrating her friend's birthday. So I imagine there's a lot of women there in that group.
Right.
Were they blocking it all? Like, what's that? Because that's intimidating for a guy to, like, you see a bunch of women together, and now you pull up and.
I'm gonna let you know a little bit of a secret, Chidozie. It was Friday. I had gone out with coworkers to a happy hour. Yeah, I was lit. By the time I met her, this is my third spot. And I was just focused on her. Yeah, it was a long time before I realized other people in the group.
All right, so you had that liquid courage at that time.
Courage.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay, cool. And so you guys are talking for an extensive amount of time at the club.
Right. And it's one of those clubs that has like an outdoor space.
Yeah.
And so we literally stopped talking because it started raining on us.
Oh, wow.
And so that was the only reason we stopped talking. We exchanged numbers. And then the next Wednesday was our first date.
Okay. And so I would assume she felt strongly enough in that conversation, but okay, there's some things that I like about him, or this was easy enough to go on a date, because 5-hour conversation, you either know if this person is interesting to you or not.
Right.
And so she goes on a date with you and then proceeds to tell you, hey, there's interest here, but.
I made her laugh. I was talking about weird stuff like the stars and the moon because we could see it. She was mildly impressed that even inebriated me could talk about the stars and the moon. And we just had a good time in that first little hour meeting. So that led to a great date.
Okay.
Of a lot of questions.
And so y'all have this. So what else did she ask you in that period of time? You said married, you have kids. You talked about your
family
relationship with or situation with your ex-wife.
Right. We went into that for probably the first hour and a half. She asked a lot of questions. She's very inquisitive. And so it forced me to open up about things that I didn't talk to other people. I was dating other people.
I mean, yeah.
And so other people would ask me questions. I'd be like, nah, I don't want to talk about that. But something about her has always led me to be more open than I am with others from jump. And so we just went into it. We talked about family. We talked about where we're from, where we went to school. Just everything in a marathon blitz of a 5-hour date. So
you did you notice? You mentioned she gave you a reaction when you mentioned you had an ex-wife, and so did you feel like was there like a sensitivity to that? Because you mentioned you didn't like to talk about it, in terms of like you felt like that might turn her off, or the question she asked you, right after knowing that felt like, wow, she really may not. This might be an issue. So how was that dynamic of her probing more to like a sensitive-ish topic?
She was more concerned about whether or not I was over it and had moved on.
Okay. So it's the type of question she was asking.
Right. Not a, oh no, immediate red flag. at that age, a lot of people have had things going on in their past, right? Baggage, whether or not it's a child or a previous marriage, or even just, I know people that have been together but not married for like a decade. That's still baggage. Like, you've been doing something in your life at that point in time. And so she was just curious about whether or not I was over it and can handle moving forward with someone else. So it wasn't like scary. I guess that answers the question. It wasn't scary. So I was comfortable and just continue to talk about it.
And so I know I want to get the full context, and so I know I'm jumping around, but to fill in some of the blanks, at this point in time, you had been single for how long?
Not that long. We probably need to talk about the relationship before this.
Let's go.
To really get full context. So, once upon a time, I married my college sweetheart. Mm-hmm. She was great in college. She was actually just a great person. She still is a great person, I'm sure. I have no contact with her now, but I'm sure she's still a great person. But we met young. We ended up getting married. I got married when I was 26. We were together legally for 5 years. I would say the first 2 years are real years together. Then I went to grad school. She went to another school. We were trying to do counseling every once in a while, but we lived two separate lives. And so we were just drifting further and further apart. The last year or so weren't really even a thing. It's just like waiting for paperwork to finish, right? And so I started dating on the back end of that year, shortly after I moved to Dallas, because I was over it, right?
So that's like 2006, 16?
2000, I moved to Dallas in...
Or 17?
Let's see here. 15.
15, okay.
15.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because we were in Chicago in 14,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say the divorce was amicable, or if it was intense? I mean, y'all both were in school, so y'all probably didn't have like a whole bunch of assets and stuff, but...
She has, and we'll probably always have more assets than I do. It was fairly amicable, but like...
It's hard.
Yeah. It still cost me 10 G's. But I mean, it was fairly amicable.
Yeah.
But it was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life, right? Mm-hmm. Not just like the day I signed the paperwork, but everything leading up to it. And I tell you, I've learned a lot about relationships and myself since then. And had I known those things, I would probably still be married to her. We had a lot of issues that...
Had you known what things?
All the skills and tools that I have now, right?
Yeah.
So neither of us were exceptionally great communicators. We used to tout to our friends, we don't argue. The reason why we didn't argue is because we didn't know how to deal with the arguments.
Holding it in.
So we'd hold it in.
Or lashing out, yeah.
Right. All my friends would say, J-Dub, whenever she's around, like, you're not even you no more. Why? Because anything that she's ever complained about in the past, I just sucked it up and conformed. And I think in many ways she did the same thing. Mm-hmm. But if you can't be you around the person you're with all the time because you don't know how to solve conflicts, of course you're just going to fling apart. It took me a long time to even realize why we flung apart. Like, there was a time where we were like, why are we getting a divorce? And neither of us had a great answer, but we knew we didn't want to be together. And so that was a lot of like hard learnings. And so by time we actually got to sign the paperwork, everything was done. I was out in these streets.
How long were you just dating?
A year.
The way that a lot of people that are not in serious relationships or married are dating now.
A year.
And so the reason why I want to stop there before we proceed with your wife, because I want to get context to like, what was that experience like dating? You know,
it was great because I had been with my ex essentially for 8-9 years, mm-hmm. right? And so it was like, ooh, look at all the shiny objects out here. It's really shiny objects. But yeah, no, it was great, but it wasn't fulfilling in any way. Like, it was like, oh, I can go on this new Tinder date, or I can go out with this person I already know, but I'm not excited for him. Like, At any point, if they
It's
start
just kinda
talking to me,
something to do.
yeah,
And
it was nothing.
you weren't invested in it at all.
No,
And based off your body language, you weren't looking to be invested in it.
I didn't think that I would even think about marriage again until I'm roughly about the age I am now. Right? Like, I wasn't looking.
That was something that wasn't in the purview coming out of a marriage.
Right.
And so, what was that like? One, just like, what was the experience like in this whole social media? Because I'm sure before you got married, that wasn't even a thing. And so now you're back in these streets. There's all these avenues and mediums to meet women, whether you're at home or
I
you
made a lot more money.
You make some more money. What was that like?
It was incredibly fun. Like, every weekend started like Wednesday, and it's just like, who do I want to go to this with? Who do I want to go to this with? And I would like figure out my days. Like, I was having a ball, but again, with no real ties to anybody, right? Just having fun. It was a great experience. Swipe left, swipe right. Talk a little bit. Oh, you want to go on a date? Sure, let's go. Go on a few dates. Let's go. It was great, but I wasn't meeting people. No, I wasn't meeting anyone that was like a long-term anything. And I knew that, and I was fine with that.
I get that. I get that you knew that. Do you think part of that was because you weren't looking for it? You know, I don't want this to be much, and so it doesn't become much? Or
I see what you're saying. No. So
or the people that you were meeting just didn't do it for you, but you were cool hanging with them.
I was cool hanging with them, have a good time. Because when I met my wife, I still wasn't looking for it. It was just there, like the package was there. Yeah. And so I straightened up.
I hear you, and I guess I'm leading you down this track you don't know about. And so you're having your fun, you're living your best life, you're swiping, you're accepting, you're bumbling, all these things. You may be meeting some people in real life in between. Mm-hmm. I'm sure some of the women on the other end of that weren't in it with the same kind of mindset, and probably were looking for as a medium to, meet someone that potentially has a long-term future. And so how is it now? I'm sure you came up across that. How is it navigating that?
So yes, I did come across that. There are still 2 individuals that I know that still won't talk to me to this day.
Why is that?
They're trying to figure out what went wrong. One of them asked for closure, and I didn't know what to say or how to say, hey, you're a good B- solution.
Really? B-?
This is what I have. This is what I just found. My current wife is an A+ solution. I don't know how to tell that to someone.
You can just say it. Just like you said that. You don't got to put the grades in there, but you can say, hey, you're a great person, but you're not a fit, and this person is what I need.
I got that. I tried to reassure them that they were a great person and that I'm just moving on, but they wanted to know details, and I didn't have the heart for no. So that one's still mad at me to this day. And there's another young lady who was pursuing more than I was willing to give with her. Yeah. And
these were going on at the time you met your now wife.
Yes.
And so let's say you didn't meet her, right? Let's say you hadn't met her.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking to, you got your little team or people that you're engaging with in different capacities. Mm-hmm. You recognize that they want more. It wasn't that you met this person that you saw potential in is like, oh, now these people want more. Like, you recognize that the way they're moving is indicative of someone that wants more. You're not ready to give that, or you haven't seen it in that person. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? Like, what's the mindset? You just
having fun.
Do you communicate that, or you just?
Oh, I was very clear with everyone that I was dating that it wasn't just me and them, and I am out having fun.
How do you communicate that? Like, how does that happen? Do you do you upfront have a conversation with them once you realize it, or did they hit you up with what are we doing, or is it, how does that happen? And I ask because a young lady could be listening to this. Mm-hmm. She's dating a guy that she sees potential in or wants to move forward with. She's seeing signs. She's not getting the action that she wants that shows that, mm-hmm. and she's in it. And at the end of the day, ultimately, like, it's not. We know once you put someone in that bucket, like, you're not. this is even before feelings are even there, right? But you don't see that potential in them. It's not gonna go nowhere. And so you know that there is a limit to the success of this relationship.
Right.
She doesn't know that.
Right.
What do you how does she navigate that?
Well, I think this is where I don't like to call myself dishonest, but this is definitely probably misleading. Where I inform people I'm out here to have fun. I am recently divorced. My last relationship was very long. I'm not looking for anything serious. If you're okay with that, cool. We can go on dates occasionally. That's the thing. I'm out here having fun. 100% my truth.
And you lead with that.
Yeah. But the thing is, I think some people hear, oh, I can change his mind over time if I just stay around. That's not true. I don't think that's true. I don't think you can change someone's mind about living wild and free just because you're there. I think you have to be real firm with people saying, hey, this is what I want. I see where you're at. If you like anything over here, then get back at me when you are ready.
Yeah.
I don't think you can just...
And if they're not doing that, you're gonna have your cake and eat it.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. And so, do you think as a man, right, there's any responsibility we have if we're involved with someone that are not able to set those boundaries for themselves to set it for them? Like, should we have the responsibility of, I know what it is, let me just dead it? Because I see the other end. I've lived that life. Like, hey, I'm enjoying it. We're adults. You should know, what you can. It's like drinking, right? If you know you're going to be lit and can't drive after 3 drinks, then drink 2.
Right.
Right? Like, you should know that at 25, 26, 30, right? And so maybe a good friend should tell you, hey girl, hey dude, you don't need to drink no more. But you're involved with this person. Do you have any responsibility? Or is it, no, we're just adults. Like, I don't owe you anything in particular.
So, me then, I probably thought the responsibility, the onus of all of that was on them. I have communicated what I want. If you want to hang around, it's on you. But now, in this new phase of life, where I'm also having a baby girl soon, I'm like, nah, everybody need to be accountable.
Yeah.
But it's only because I'm looking at it now from the point of view of how would I feel if this was my daughter and someone was treating her this way.
And so what would you say to a guy that's in that predicament?
Continue to be honest, but probably lead them to the point of, if you want more, you probably should walk away because I can't give you more right now.
And a girl? Or it's not even a girl. Let's not even put gender. Someone that knows that whoever they're with is not their person. This is before feelings and stuff get involved. Like, this is just for fun. You recognize that there's capped. And you're saying you should be honest about how you feel and what it is. And if you're on the other end of that, where you may be feeling more, but you're not getting that necessarily reciprocated, what advice do you get to them? Because it could be flipped. It could be a girl and a guy.
When people tell you who they are and what they want, you should listen. And even if that conflicts with your desire, you still need to listen and guard your own heart. That's all you can ever do.
Okay. That's real. And we tend to talk about the marriage piece and some relationship, but I think as much as I can, I want to bring in some of the probably more typical situations that people that are dating find themselves in. And that's, I think, one that happens often is, where do you create boundaries for yourself? Is it important to lessons learned from not doing that, whether it's you didn't create the boundaries for yourself or you were with someone that didn't do it, and how that can impact the dynamics of a relationship.
Right.
And so just for a little bit more time, I want to just get into like the mental psyche of like going through a divorce. I mean, you're probably one of 2 people that I know that have been through a divorce like young, but before the age of 30 or before 35. And so how was that? What was that process like? I know you guys were in school, and so they're growing up and things like that, but like you mentioned it earlier when we were talking, like to uncleave yourself of someone that you've been with for closely committed to and engaged with and like day to day is work, and it takes time, and it's hard. And so how was that?
It was the most painful thing I've ever gone through. Even though we had gotten to the point where we really weren't in each other's lives anymore, we still served functions in each other's lives, right? Easy, quick example. I'm horrible with birthdays. My ex-wife was great with birthdays. The first year after our divorce, without her reminder, I literally forgot my mother's birthday. Just because there are the little things, the almost intangibles that another person does for you, and things that you do for them, of course, that you don't even begin to realize until they are gone, right? It's almost like death, right? I have no contact with her. It's like one day she was there, the next day gone. I know everything about her family and everything about her friends. I know her history. We were together for the better part of a decade. And so when you remove that, it's painful, even if you can't stand to be in the same room with that person.
Even though you know it's the right decision.
Even if you know it's the right decision, it's very painful. And so, yeah. What else can I say about that? There were periods when I would literally come home from work and just cry because she wasn't there and wasn't going to be there, and I knew it, but I also didn't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
And so that was leading up to the divorce. It was just painful, man. Like, I don't ever want to go through that again.
How do you, I guess, differentiate between things that people do for you in the relationship, right? And so you talked about the gaps that you fill for each other, gaps you fill in for each other, right? How do you differentiate those things that someone does for you as your partner that are, let's say, table stakes? And then table stakes may not look the same, right?
For sure.
But it's table stakes type of things that you say, hey, if I was going to get married to these 3 women, they probably would all do these things in some kind of capacity.
I get what you're saying.
Or, right? But there's also differences that people bring to the table that make this one special, this one okay, this one great, right? How do you distinguish between those things? Because on one side of it, you can see, well, this person's doing a lot of nice things for me, right? Some of it is table stakes. Like, well, it's like trash for, let's say, taking out the trash. It don't really matter what guy you're with. He's probably going to be the one that's taking out the trash most of the time. And so that's something that's table stakes in the sense of it's nice that you have someone that takes your trash out. You don't have to worry about it. But that doesn't make this person special from the next person because both of them probably should be doing that, right?
Right.
So how do you distinguish? And trash is very simple, right? But how do you distinguish those things from each other?
Excellent question. One I had not considered.
Or looking back, and you're looking back at your previous marriage and going through the process like reflection, separation, were there things that you recognize that were things that only she brought to the table that made that relationship special when it was going well versus just the things that were table stakes?
And so this is pointing back to my previous comment. If I knew the tools in terms of communication and conflict resolution, I actually think that we would still be together. She's a very special young lady. We had a great connection in many ways. We just couldn't solve conflict. And so the special things that you're talking about were there with her, right? In undergrad, I was an engineer. Engineers are weird, as you know.
Just as a matter of fact.
Right.
Specifics as answers.
Right. She was also an engineer. Every quirky thing about me, she could probably match in quirkiness, and we could enjoy it. Our best of times were great, but our worst of times were bad because we couldn't. We couldn't communicate through them, right? And that's what makes this marriage different, because our best of times are great too, but we've learned how to communicate through them. Part of that is just my wife's inherent ability to communicate. She can communicate. That's what she does for a job. She communicates all day. Conflict resolution all day. So some of that's her, But a lot of that is I've gone to counseling. We've gone to couples counseling. We did premarital counseling. We still go to counseling.
Current one or
with the
previous?
current
Okay.
wife. And so that my philosophy now is prevention over mitigation. I don't want to get to a point where we can't resolve an issue. We do a lot of things in our marriage to make sure that the status quo is amazing, right? And so those types of tools I didn't have, my ex-wife didn't have. And so we were just like lost. Our good times are great. Our bad times are really bad. And I don't think that my ex-wife is special. My current wife is special. I don't think I would have married either of them if they weren't in that already special category.
Yeah.
I would like to think that I wouldn't marry someone that wasn't special.
Got you. So,
but the current wife is more special because she had tools that help us stay together.
Got you. So for you, it wasn't a function of you marrying the wrong person. It was more of a function of you guys didn't have the tools to navigate some of the challenges of marriage.
And I would have never sought those tools without the pain of divorce.
Got you. You were receptive to them.
No.
Gotcha.
Not at all. Because we tried counseling. And I wasn't listening to it. I turned into, well, she's wrong about this and tell her she's wrong about this instead of trying to listen.
Do you think if you hadn't met your wife and enough time went by that it was possible to go back that? Or once y'all ended it, it was done? I know it's a weird question to ask now that you're married and you're about to have a kid, but I'm just trying to think about it. Like, you know, special person, you guys didn't have the tools, you've equipped the tools. Assuming she might have equipped the tools, you guys run into each other. Would that have been a potential thing? And the way it worked out is that no, it just didn't work out that way? Or is it a function of that was just history, that's the past?
Because of our personalities, she's not one to revisit, and I am not one to either. Our reasons are probably different, but we weren't going to do that. We have not talked on purpose since then.
No, and yeah. I'm not trying to position that as a proposition.
Oh no, I know you're not. I'm just saying that it is in neither of our personalities for that to happen.
I just asked more from a sense of sometimes when you grow apart from someone or have these points where in the moment it may feel like a point of no return. If you feel like the time, like having that space and time is helpful or not.
No, in this particular case, just because of our personalities, I'm not saying it's a thing general to people, but just because of our personalities, that wasn't going to happen.
Okay.
And I knew that. That's part of the reason why it was painful.
No, it's real. It's real.
Point of no return.
And so you coming in, you married young, grew apart, learned some lessons along the way. Mm-hmm. You're about 30 at this point? 32?
32.
32. You're out in these streets like you're 24. Living your best life. And what did you feel like was most effective in terms of engaging with women? Do you feel like... Because this is why I'm asking the question. I tend to tell people, at least in Texas, that the bar is so low. Like, guys have done so much, what they call it, trifling things or whatever, or just the supply of quality men of color is so low that the bar that women have for men is extremely low. And if you are decent looking, if you have a job, a decent job, and you're consistent in your actions with that person, you could pull. And like, not pull like, oh, we're going on a date, but like the woman more times than not is going to want something more serious. Do you find that to be true?
I find that to be very true.
And so, knowing that, I don't say it to say, hey guys, stop manipulating women and just be consistent to see it, but what's your perspective on that? How, like, for women, like, what's your advice for them in terms of the current state of affairs and dating, you know?
The current state of current affairs and dating is it's very strange. And so I've still have a lot of female friends that are out there dating, And sometimes I think their expectations are unrealistic. One of the interesting things about dating in Dallas, Texas in general, is that you come across amazing women with amazing resumes, which is basically what you just highlighted, who are willing to date people with not so great resumes because supply is low.
And when you say resumes, you're not just talking about like jobs.
No,
like
I'm not talking about
who they are
jobs.
as a person.
Yeah.
Quality of person. The whole package, not
exactly,
just
not
professionally.
Not just professionally.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Get clear up. And so when a halfway decent applicant comes by, they're willing to hire and hire quickly, but then they're not willing to give anything because they're used to dealing with these not so great resumes, right? And so it gets to be this very interesting dynamic where you're trying to deal with this person and they're treating you as if you are not a good resume. Which I never really got. And I see it all the time still around.
What do you mean by that? So, because I just gave the example where like the bar is low. And are you saying that some people have like too high of a bar?
Not that they have too high of a bar. They're just operating in an age that is not the current one. Like, for example, I have a friend now who won't pay for a date, who won't plan a date and won't do anything, and then wonders why after the second or third date there's no more interest. Gotcha. It's kind of like you're not willing to put anything into it, then that's a problem.
And that might be a reason to like stop talking to the person.
Yeah, because it comes across as if you're not interested at all.
No, I mean like the woman also may view that as a reason to stop talking to him. He's like, I'm not paying for this date either. I've took you on 4 dates.
Right. But that's a backwards way of thinking. Your resume is as good as my resume in all the aspects. We are equals. We're coming together. If you want to forge a future together, I don't want to be the one doing everything indefinitely. Right? Justin's point of view of the world. And so I'm kind of looking for a like mind, but the female persuasion, right? And so...
No, I feel you. Not that person's taking over and paying for everything, but the fact that it's
put some effort
proactive form of reciprocity.
Yeah.
And hey, we've gone out 4 times and you've covered it. Let me get the 5th.
Right.
And that happens proactively. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, for example, there's just the fact that she's showing interest. A lot of people want to be pursued, but never want to show any interest. And I don't know how that works. Would you keep pursuing something that is not showing any interest in you?
No, I think you're right in the sense of what guys of your definition with good resumes expect. Mm-hmm. And I think some people will say, whether it's the guy being happy or the girl or the woman being like he should be happy because, well, she's interested, she's responding. And I think a lot of guys that have good resumes, like, that's not my standard for acceptable that you responded. Like anybody can respond to a text, so that doesn't show me that you really want this,
right?
And so I think a lot of times actions like that, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant, but just the mindset that you wanted enough to show some initiative into us doing something goes a long way and speaks volumes. And we probably as men don't necessarily communicate that as well. Right. The importance or how much that means when we see that.
Right. Not at all. Because I think there's a lot to do in our culture with, I go out, I do this, I pursue, I get the chick, but get the chick and do what? At some point, there is this, in any relationship that's long term, there's reciprocity, right? And I'm not talking about dollars. I'm not talking about I plan everything, she plans everything. I'm talking about, hey, there's effort on both sides. And if you're not showing effort on both sides in the beginning, why would anyone expect the effort to increase suddenly later on, right? So I'm not one to over pursue. I don't think people should over pursue, but I don't think people should let themselves be over pursued because they think their value is here and the other person's value is here.
Gotcha. No, that's fair. And I think those are some of the different dynamics that I often find in conversations when single people are talking about, how many dates should a person go on before the woman pays? Should a woman split the first date? And what all those kind of unwritten rules mean when you do them, when you abide by them, and when you don't. And so it's just interesting to get the perspective of someone that's married, looking back and I guess reflecting on what's important, what's not important, what's trivial, what doesn't matter in relation to that. Because like part of my philosophy has always been, well, if you're taking a woman out on the first date, like she should never have to pay for that. But I also subscribe to the fact that like there should be some reciprocity if we've been going out a few times and there's mutual interest that you just show love.
I don't want you to think that I'm just going to keep taking you out and you show no interest. I mean, there's lots of ways to show interest.
Yeah.
Even if it's just planning the date and I still end up paying for it, you're showing interest. Like this is...
Or y'all go to multiple places and she grabbed the drinks ticket at one place.
Something, yeah. Pretend like you're interested and I'm not just buying you free stuff.
Is that a concern that you feel like guys have? Because we all have that friend that say, that talk to you about whoever they're dealing with. And they're like, I was bored, so I went.
Right.
And they have no interest in the guy. And so is that a concern that in the back of your mind when you were dating that this might just be for that? Even though you're trying to have your fun, right? But, this person may just be in it for... Or do you even think about that? You're like, I'm just trying to have fun, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, those people that go out just to get a free meal. That's not fun for either party.
Well, you don't know them until it happens.
Well, I mean, I have people. I have friends in that
do that.
They're in my circle.
But you're
go
not
out.
the person experiencing it.
No. Well, yes and no. I've been on dates where neither one of us are really having fun, and it was usually my last date with that person, right? And it's like, did you just come out so you can get a free meal? Well, here's your free meal. Goodbye. And so this is where reciprocity is important, not just on the cash and the planning, or it's the showing interest and having fun. Like you can't have fun with somebody who's just, I'm here. Again, Justin's personal opinion.
Well, your opinion matters, and I appreciate you for giving it to us. I thank you for your time. I want to thank everyone out there that's listening. Appreciate your support. If you have questions, topics, concerns, even feedback, hit me up at Think Love Wife on Instagram. Please subscribe to I Think I Love My Wife podcast. In the next episode, we'll talk about the benefits of premarital counseling before the engagement, the importance of finding alignment, the value of being your person's mirror, and preparing for fatherhood. Thanks again, and I hope the conversation keeps going.